Ezra, the numbers in the poll are they're such mirrors of each other. The Biden 14-point lead, and then this massive disapproval of Donald Trump's handling of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's a disaster politically because, and I think this is really important, because it is actually a disaster. There is simply no better politics than governing well. Donald Trump, I think, didn't quite get that. It is unusual that we elect a true outsider to be president. He had never been a mayor, had never been a governor, had never been a member of the House, had never been a member of the Senate. He had never governed anything at all whatsoever. And so he ran in politics as a pure political entertainment character. He had watched politics on TV. He had been on TV. He figured out how to do TV politics. And to our discredit as a nation, we elected him president, or at least some proportion of us did. So now he's president. And he still does not understand that you can't run next time the way you ran the first time. His great advantage in 2016 was he had no record. In 2020, he does, and that record is a disaster. Right before I came on the air, Lawrence, I saw a chart from the Washington Post. You mentioned today's number in America is something like 37,000. Mm-hmm. The European Union is up to about 4,000 new cases a day. If you look in March, you look in April, we were about the same as the European Union. And then they went down, and we've gone back up, and we're on an upward curve. This is not a disaster that was inevitable. It is a disaster that is the function and product of terrible governance.
And the other phenomenon here, political phenomenon, which is the worst thing you can possibly do in politics, is that Donald Trump is scaring people. He is scaring people with this threat to their health that he is clearly not defending them against. It's kind of an extension of healthcare politics, which is a much more innocent version of this. But we discovered in polling in 1994, when the Clinton healthcare bill was moving in the Senate, I was working in the Senate then, that people were afraid. They were just afraid of what this change might mean for their own healthcare. That same phenomenon of being afraid of the Obama legislation recurred. But that's a mild fear compared to the fear that people are feeling right now, that they or someone they love might be infected by this virus, might be killed by this virus. And the president is not defending us against this virus.
The core argument Donald Trump had running for re-election was that the economy was pretty good. You go back 6 months, that's what he's saying in every speech. That's what anybody you talk to who's thinking about how to run the campaign on the Democratic side or the Republican side was telling you. And what was important about that was that the American people are not stupid by any means. They look at Donald Trump and they know he acts crazy. They know the things he says are a bit ridiculous. But what you would hear is, well, maybe it'll make him effective, right? Maybe it's a madman act, or maybe he's just a wrecking ball who will get things done in Washington when the normal kind of genteel politicians don't. The issue with coronavirus, which among not only causes tremendous levels of death and sickness and harm, but also has collapsed the economy, is that it washed all that away. You can now see the consequences of ill governance. And the thing Donald Trump had before was that an economy that was the same trend, by the way, that we had seen in the last couple of years of the Obama administration, which he continued to benefit from, covered up the fact that he functionally wasn't acting as president at all. He was acting as president on TV, but not running a White House, not running an administration, not setting an agenda. I spoke, by the way, today with Mitt Romney's chief strategist from 2012, and the thing he said to me was just, the Republican Party has collapsed as a governing institution. It's not just Donald Trump. It's not like Mitch McConnell is doing a great job here either and stepping into the void Donald Trump has left. And so what's happening now is that people can actually see what it looks like when the president isn't doing his job during a crisis. And it is terrifying. And it has taken away the argument he had, which was that people were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt so long, or some people were, so long as the country's economy and basic functioning seemed like it was working well. Now that it doesn't, now that there's a match between the way he acts and what appears to be the actual state of the country, he's collapsing in the polls.